Hey guys, Prepper Nurse One here. Um, I wanted to do more of a follow-up on my nursing home video. I have a couple of points that I wanted to make, but first I wanted to share with you all. George passed away this morning at 3 a.m. My mom had called me and let me know, and sadly George has passed away, but he went out on his terms, and I respect that. But it's kind of sad. I mean, it's like, you know, he has super longevity in his family. He's got an aunt right now that's 103 years old. His father was in his 90s. He's got a sister that's 82. He was 78. And, he had a lot of life ahead of him yet, but he chose to do what he did. And like I said, I do respect that. He knew he was failing. Physically, he'd been failing for a little over a year. And mentally, he had starting to really deteriorate with the dementia and stuff like that. So, it's tough. I mean, it's a hard thing. And I did get up to see him yesterday and visited with him for a little while. And like I said, it's something that you never ever get used to. It's with family. I mean, being in the nursing field, you handle things differently, but it's still sad. So I wanted to go back on some of the points. I had somebody made a comment of, well, how do you know, even though you've been a nurse for 22 years, you've only been doing it in that region of where I'm at. Actually, I lived in North Carolina for a while too, and I did it down there. But also, I would say to that person that made that comment, look at the comments. The comments are from people all over the United States and even from overseas, stating basically the same exact thing. I don't want to vilify all management because not all management is bad, but somebody made a very poignant comment, and it was funny because I was looking at it, I'm like, yep, exactly. All management cares about is the budget and passing inspections. Now, here's the thing that I think is absolutely hilarious, okay? Now, the state had been coming, they knew the state was coming, okay? So, oh my God, the state's coming, we got to make sure everything's squared away. Now, how is that a surprise inspection from the state when they know you're coming, number one? And number two, when the state was there, man, staffing was jacked up. I mean, they had staffing at a max, not any other time. And anybody, like I said, that's worked in the facilities and nursing homes and stuff like that would definitely know that. So let's go to another point that somebody had asked me to make a comment on. How about home care? Okay, I did home care myself for a very, very long time, and I really, truly enjoyed home care because, and here's a couple of the reasons why. Number one, you're able to give the person the kind of care not that they should have, but what they deserve to have. Okay, when you're working with somebody one-on-one, there is absolutely no reason to be slacking at all, ever. So, I was with one family for 17 years. The first 8 years that I was with them, I did 20 hours a week, 2 10-hour shifts. The last 9 years that I was with them, I did 50 plus hours a week. So, home care, I would, if you can keep your loved one at home in their own environment, and to have somebody come into your home that you can trust, that's fantastic. Now, here's unfortunately, I'm going by New York here, guys. Okay, from my experiences in New York. Okay, I had somebody come to me one time, and they were like, my grandfather needs help. He was in his early 90s, and my grandmother can't do it anymore, and he needs a shower and stuff like that, a couple days a week. And if you could make breakfast for him or whatnot, that would be great. And I said, or do you know anybody? They said, do you know anybody that you could recommend? And I didn't know anybody that I could recommend. And I said and please don't hammer on me when I say this, but I'm going by my New York experiences, Rochester, New York experiences, basically on this. Okay, a lot of CNAs in Rochester were welfare CNAs that. They were forced on welfare to do something that they had to work so many hours a week. And a lot of times what happened is they would go into people's homes and they would steal them blind And I'm not saying all guys, so please don't hammer me on this, okay? But this does happen, okay? They would go into these people's homes and they would steal from them, okay? So what I did for this particular family, I said, listen, I said, I don't really know anybody that I trust. I said, but I'll do it. And I did. And I would go in and I would give him a shower like two or three times a week. And, I would make him breakfast. And he always said he loved my omelets. Because also I used to be a short order cook back in the day. So I can make a mean omelet. Anyway, I was with them for a while until he passed away. And they were awesome people. They were really, really nice. But, it's hard to find somebody that you trust. And to have, if you can find somebody that you can trust that you know is not going to steal from you, that's not going to steal from your loved ones, that's awesome. And don't get me wrong, it happens in the nursing homes too. I mean, the theft and stuff like that from the old people. It does. It's just, it's a sad reality of the way things are. But like I said, in Rochester, what they do a lot of times, welfare will give people, okay, yeah, you'll get welfare, but you have to work, 20 or 24 hours a week. So a lot of them become CNAs, the different people that are on the welfare, and they don't care about those jobs, and they're just going in there to fill that paycheck, and they just, it's not, they're doing it for the wrong reasons, okay? Somebody also made a comment, and I'm just trying to address certain things that I had read. I haven't gone in and answered all the comments yet, but somebody had said, well, if you hate the fact that the management treats you so badly and stuff like that, and it's so terrible, why are you still doing it? You must be just doing it for the money as well. Now don't get me wrong, I'm not getting paid as much as I would like, but I do it for the residents, because somebody has to take care of them, and I want to make sure that they're taken care of right. I had CNAs would say to me, this or that doesn't happen when you're not here. Well, here's my response to that, and always was. I can't control what somebody else does on their shift. All I can control is what I do on my shift. And I'm going to make sure that when I'm there that they're taken care of properly. That's period, bottom line, There were different nurses that didn't like to give out PRNs. And so I've seen that through the years as well. And here's my thing. If they have an order for a PRN and they ask for their medication and they're in pain, give them their med. Okay, I don't care if they're drug seeking or not. Give them their med. So that's kind of, just to give you an example of some of the stuff. Like I said, I think it's a countrywide problem, worldwide problem that the elderly are not taken care of properly the way that they should be. I know that if we can take care of them in their homes, in their own environments, they're going to be much happier. When I went up during the day yesterday to visit George, and one of the things that somebody had made a comment of, they sit around and wait to die, and I work nights, so, they're already all in bed when I'm there, and I was walking through, and to see these people just sitting, just staring off into space, sitting there, I mean, it's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking. And now, let me address another thing. Now, okay, a lot of people say, well, as a family member, we're working and, can't always come to visit and blah, blah, blah. That's fine. And don't get me wrong, I know that people do come to visit. Now, I'm not saying all, but I'm saying the number of people that I've seen throughout my nursing career that the residents, that their family members came twice a year, at Christmas and at Easter. That's when they would come and put on the big show like they gave a crap, okay? Now, I don't care how busy you are, you could make time once a week to come and visit your loved ones. Unless you're working 7 days a week and don't ever have any free time at all, you can make time to come visit your loved ones, be it, your grandparents or your mom or your dad or whatever, okay? And I don't know everybody's circumstances. Some people probably had miserable lives. A good example of, and I'm going to go ahead and name him on here because he put his comment out there, White Master Mariner. Dude, you're bitter, and I'm sad that you had to deal with what you had to deal with, but, you need to find some compassion in your heart, man, because, all that hate, all that's going to do is eat you up, and that's not good, okay? But, unfortunately, not everybody had a good childhood. Some people had great childhoods, and I'm glad for them, but, it is what it is. But like my father, okay, I'm going to give a good example here. My biological father gave me up for adoption when I was 5 years old. And then later on, because he didn't want to pay child support, is what it came down to. And he had a new wife that had 2 kids, and he was raising her 2 kids, and she didn't want us in the picture. So he gave us up for adoption. So then I didn't see him. I saw him once when I was 16. I saw him once when I was 19 when I got done with basic training. And then when I was 27, I decided to have a relationship with him because I wanted to know who he was. You know, who was this guy? And then he had the nerve to say to me, well, it's what you wanted. You wanted to be adopted. And I told him, I said, listen, dude, you know, not for nothing. I was 5 freaking years old. What does a 5-year-old know? You know, he made a conscious decision. I don't care, you know, yes, his wife was whispering in his ear and she didn't want us in the picture, but ultimately it was his decision. And he gave us up. And so, you know, but what did I do at the end? I was his power of attorney. I took care of everything. That's what I do. And, you know, it was, the bottom line is he was still my father. If he was a piece of crap dad, which he was, it didn't make any difference to me. He was still my dad, and he needed to be taken care of in the right way to make sure he was looked after. So, you know, it's, you know, everybody has different circumstances, and I understand that. But ultimately, your parents are your parents. You can't pick them. You can pick your friends, but you can't pick your family, okay? But anyway, so, like I said, I want to do a follow-up on this. Do I think home care is better? Absolutely. I think home care is awesome. I personally, I don't advocate for nursing homes. Now, the nursing home up here is a decent place. It really is. It's a clean facility. You know, the food is not the best, but it's not horrible. And, you know, and I think a lot, like I said, a lot of the staff, I would say 90% of the staff really try and care. Like I said, in management, they just don't care. Not there, okay? They don't. And if that's the bottom line. They don't know what's going on. They have no clue. So anyway, you know, just like I said, if you can keep your loved one home, if there's any way that you can do that, have somebody come in and take care of them. I don't care if it's a CNA or just even somebody that's not even certified, somebody that can come in and you know, make sure that they've had their meals or breakfast and, you know, their medicines and get a shower a couple times a week. You know, that's huge. You know, that is huge. So anyway, guys, listen, I'm going to jump off of here. So, again, George passed away today at 3 o'clock this morning. So, it's, you know, it's sad. It really is sad. So, what are you going to do? Unfortunately, it's part of life. So, I hope everybody has a good day. It's obviously a rainy, wet, crappy day here at the homestead. I'll pan this out here and show you. And that's it, you know. So, we are doing a low-key day, and that's all we're doing. So, obviously, we have other things that we got to take care of now. So, I will talk to you guys all later, and I hope you have a great day. Remember, guys, hug and kiss the ones you love, because tomorrow is not guaranteed. It never, you know, there's no guarantee. And just remember to do that, because it's very important. And I hope everybody has a great day. All right, I will talk to you later. Proper Nurse 1 out for now.